Welcome back, or just welcome. I'm Lizzie Frizzle, and this is the Recap Corner. Today, we're talking about Farmer Wants a Wife, Season 1, Episode 10, called I've Made a Mistake. I think a lot of us would agree that the season started slogging toward its finish a few weeks ago, but I was really excited for this episode. Admittedly, it might be because the title reminded me of one of my favorite moments from Boy Meets World, but still.
Mommy, if my dolly is cold, can I put her in the toaster oven?
No, honey, that would be a mistake.
Mommy,
What?
I made a mistake.
As Farmer Wants a Wife inches toward its first U.S. season finale in over a decade, it seems like the show might be running out of content. I'm really curious to see how the editors will fill the time in the finale. Will the producers turn Hunter's trailer or the cab of Alan's big rig into a fantasy suite? Something or someone that we do get answers about in this episode is Landon. At the top of the hour, Jennifer Nettles says that the 3 remaining farmers are en route to their next hometown visits. So right away, we know not to expect Landon, even though he does show up at the end of the episode. I was pretty sad to hear that Landon wouldn't be participating in most of the episode because it means that he was still grieving the loss of his father, and that makes me very sad for him. Luckily for me, though, I forgot all about it once the editors showed me this footage of a cute horse interacting with Jennifer Nettles. Meanwhile, the hometown visits continue. Hunter travels to Lawrenceburg, Tennessee to visit Meghan, who actually lives in Texas, but she grew up in Lawrenceburg. Her family has lived there since her great-grandparents, and Meghan says she intends to move back one day. We saw the beginning of this storyline last episode, when Meghan started needling Hunter about him moving to Tennessee instead of her moving to Georgia. But wasn't the point of, this whole thing that the farmers need a dating show because it's hard to meet women while being tied to rural farmland? In some cases, like Hunter and Ryan's, land that's been in their families for generations. Didn't the contestants know that the goal was for each winner to move onto their respective ranch? The farmers aren't supposed to come to you. This is a big theme throughout the episode. Suddenly, half the contestants don't want to move anymore. And if they're not willing to move, then I don't know why they applied. Anyway, Hunter meets Meghan's mom, her best friend from college, and her cousin, who turns out to be Poppy from Only Murders in the Building. As everyone sits down for a meal, Meghan leaves the table to get water for a long time. While she's gone, her best friend asks Hunter if he loves Meghan.
I know it's been a short amount of time, but do you think you're in love with Meghan?
I don't know that I've ever felt this way about somebody this fast.
If Farmer Wants a Wife gets renewed for another season, I think it needs to figure out how in love, if at all, it wants the contestants and the farmers to be. We know how little time the women have actually spent with their farmers because the show repeatedly tells us. So when their families ask about love, it feels like we've suddenly been dropped into an entirely different dating show. Given Hunter and Meghan's fairy tale romance edit and the fact that she left her grieving family to return to filming, it at least makes a little sense for her family to be asking these serious questions. But last episode, when Ashley R's sister was asking them to Landon, I couldn't stop laughing. Meghan's family also asks Hunter about the age gap between him and Meghan, which is 8 years. It was pretty satisfying after the entire season for people to finally ask Hunter about the significant age gaps between him and his contestants. Sydney's family brought it up in the last episode, and now Meghan's family has. But Meghan's family brushes it off just as quickly by calling Meghan an old 23.
How old are you?
I just turned 31.
Okay. And she's 23.
There's an age gap there.
She's an old 23.
She's an old soul.
After all this time has passed, all these questions have been asked, Meghan finally returns to the table, but she's just got a single pitcher of water. Next, Hunter leaves, so Meghan's family can talk to her alone. It's not a very interesting segment. They just tell her that Hunter is definitely falling for her. At the end of the day, Hunter and Meghan walk alongside, then stand around in a creek. They kiss, and Hunter tells the camera that he's confident in his decision about who to choose as his winner. So I guess that means Meghan. Then Hunter says that he's falling in love with her. So yeah, I guess Meghan.
I think I'm falling in love with Meghan. Can we be done now?
For a lot of the season, I thought Hunter and Meghan were the strongest couple in the cast, whatever that means. But since her return, I've started to wonder if Hunter might like Meghan way more than she likes him. With the power dynamic so potentially off balance between them, I've started to see Alan and Kelsey as the new alpha couple, which is terrible news for Rebecca, who Alan visits this episode in Moore Park, California, where she trains dressage horses on a ranch. Alan meets Rebecca's very cool chosen family. There's Dick and Vicky, who she says are basically her adopted parents. There's her coach, Tom, and there's Marie, who Rebecca says is like a big sister. Weeks ago, I already pitched that Rebecca should be one of the farmers if there's a season 2. But now I want Rebecca and Marie together. We learn in this episode that Marie's looking for love, maybe even with Alan.
And Marie likes him.
I like him. Yeah, of course I like him. If I was 20 years younger, I would like him a lot.
As Alan talks to Rebecca's family, he's thrown off by their tough questions. Real brain busters, like, what are you looking for in a relationship? And what qualities does your ideal woman have?
What type of life would you imagine their day-to-day life?
What about dressage back there? Is that very big?
I don't really know a whole lot about that world.
So where do you live?
Southern Middle Tennessee.
Okay, Tennessee.
Yep. They did ask some hard questions.
Maybe Alan was just surprised that Rebecca's family bothered to ask any questions at all, since he's so obviously going to pick Kelsey. And we'll talk more about that at the end of the video. Among their questions, of course, Rebecca's family also asks Alan about his divorce. At least this time we learned something, which is that the divorce happened about 4 years ago. We've spent so much time talking about Alan's divorce. I'm surprised the show didn't make an entire marketing campaign around it, like Colton's virginity or Katie's vibrator. When Alan leaves the table, Rebecca's family tells her that they like him, but Rebecca tells her family that she likes living in California. Suddenly, and I mean totally understandably too, but through the lens of the edit, suddenly, Rebecca is hesitant to move herself and her 5 horses across the country to Tennessee. Once again, a contestant who seemed pretty down to farm the entire season has abruptly decided that she probably doesn't want to move to the farm after all. Later, Alan and Rebecca talk alone near her horses, who are definitely eavesdropping, but they can only gossip among themselves, so it doesn't really matter. Per the episode's trailer, I think Rebecca is about to ask Alan why he's more affectionate with Kelsey than he is with her. But she actually says sort of the opposite. She's noticed the physical affection between Alan and Kelsey, but just wants to reaffirm that she's not also expected to move that fast. That fast meaning exactly 2 kisses. Alan appreciates Rebecca's slower pace and even admits to her that it better aligns with his own affection style than Kelsey's does. To camera, Alan continues weighing the women. He calls Rebecca a hard worker and likes that she's used to a ranch lifestyle, but he calls Kelsey fun to be around and says that even though she struggles with the lifestyle, they've managed to build a deep connection in spite of that. It's too bad that Rebecca lives so far away from Alan, and that he doesn't seem attracted to her at all. Because of all the contestants in the entire cast, she's the most ready to move on to a farm. Ryan travels to Brooklyn, New York to visit Sarah I with an H. But before they meet up, both take some time to themselves. For Sarah, that means getting brunch drunk love with her friends and her mom. For Ryan, it means looking out of place in his cowboy hat while he sits awkwardly on some rocks near the water. A couple of weeks ago, Jennifer Nettles teased that one farmer realized he made a mistake eliminating someone. That's what the title of the episode refers to. And during this segment, that farmer is finally revealed to be Ryan, who regrets eliminating Haley. Recently, Ryan's realized that he eliminated Haley as a defense mechanism after she started to make him feel deeper. She also conveniently lives in New York, where Ryan just happens to be, so he reaches out to her. While he waits for Haley's response, Ryan meets with the contestant he didn't already eliminate, Sarah I with an H. But by the time they link up, it seems like they've both independently decided that they're over it. Ryan is sitting on the stoop of what I think we're to believe is Sarah's apartment, and when she walks into frame, he doesn't even get up to greet her.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Honestly, I'm not fully sure.
Then Sarah explains that as soon as her plane landed in New York, she started to cry. She's since realized that she could never leave the city. And just like that, Sarah walks past Ryan into the building behind him and out of the show. If you can believe that her massive fur coat can fit through a door frame. After Sarah's gone, Ryan calls it a relief. When Jennifer Nettles first revealed that a farmer made a mistake, I had no idea who I thought it was gonna be. And if I had to guess, I would have picked Landon bringing back Zoe. After Sarah I with an H got so much screen time throughout the season, and after Lily left, I would have never thought that any other woman could be Ryan's final one, especially someone who went home as many episodes ago as Haley did. Sarah I with an H just so clearly seemed like Ryan's frontrunner until she abruptly, at least in the edit, started talking about missing New York last episode. I mean, she was one of the first women to adopt wearing a cowboy hat themselves. She was always enthusiastic about the farm work, and she seemed to like Ryan enough. But in the end, she was just playing pretend like most of the others. Later, Haley responds and agrees to meet Ryan for coffee. He tells her he missed her like crazy, but I don't know. Before this episode, we hadn't heard a peep about Ryan regretting any of his eliminations, and I know that could be an editing choice, but still. It just so happens that the person Ryan's decided he regrets eliminating lives in the same city as the woman who's just dropped out of being in his final 2. Haley tells Ryan that her elimination and his reasons for doing it were hurtful, but Ryan explains that he just needed to dig into his own emotions to realize that Haley's emotions aren't actually bad.
It was the wrong thing for me to say that it was because of your emotions. Since that moment, I've been struggling. when I really dug into my emotions, I couldn't live with that.
He invites her to rejoin the show and be his winner, I assume, if she says yes. But Haley needs time to think. We won't get her answer until the season finale. While Alan, Hunter, and Ryan contemplate their final twos and who they'll choose to become their final ones, we catch up with Landon and his favorite cow, Blanca, 3 weeks after his father passed. Landon's decided to return to filming, partially because his dad raised him to finish what he starts, and partially to not abandon his final two. He travels to Dallas, Texas to visit Ashley L. and meet her mom, dad, and uncle at a bistro. Before they head inside, Ashley consoles Landon about losing his father, but, strangely.
How are you and your family doing?
We're okay. Every day gets a little better.
Are you sure you're okay?
Mm-hmm.
Promise?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to be my parent?
I guess.
Fortunately, Ashley's family is better at condolences.
By the way, I'm very sorry about your dad.
Landon explains that though he and Ashley didn't have their first official date until a month into filming, he first noticed her at the group rodeo event, where she talked about her family only living a few hours from his farm. Ashley leaves the table without bothering to make an excuse, like getting water, so her family can ask Landon the same questions all the other families have asked. I like Ashley's parents. I like their energy, and I like their cartoony skepticism at the thought of Ashley actually moving onto a farm, especially one as remote as Landon's is.
I mean, really, Ashley, can you imagine raising your kids on the farm?
Still, Ashley's dad describes her as predictably unpredictable, so I guess anything's possible. Later, Landon and Ashley sit alone, together. He tells her he's the best version of himself with her. How could he possibly know that? I mean, they've barely spent any time together. Landon himself just said they went on one date in 6 weeks. In response, Ashley says that she just wants to be enough for someone, and that she's struggled to be vulnerable with Landon throughout filming because it's tough to open up to a guy when he's dating a bunch of other women, even if you know that's what you signed up for. After being vulnerable by saying all that, Ashley thinks Landon's gonna kiss her, but instead, he humiliates her. I mean, kisses her on the nose. Humiliates her.
I thought for a moment we were going to kiss, and then he kissed me on the nose.
To camera, Landon explains that he thinks it's disrespectful to kiss multiple women, like on the lips, back to back, especially after meeting their families. I think most dating show contestants probably accept that the lead is going to be kissing multiple people in rapid succession. But good on Landon for sticking to his guns, I guess. On the next episode, the season finale, I think, the farmers choose their winners. Who's moving on to a farm? Who's leaving as a couple? Who's getting rejected? Here's what I think. First, Haley either accepts Ryan's invitation to rejoin the show, then ultimately rejects him at the final decision, or Haley rejects Ryan's invitation to rejoin the show and he ends up single. Sorry, Sarah V. I think Hunter will pick Meghan because he basically told us he was going to, but I think Meghan will reject the offer to move on to the farm, and the two of them will end the show in a long-distance relationship. Landon is the only farmer whose final decision I don't really have a good guess about. Sometimes I think he's going to pick Ashley R because she's had a lot of screen time throughout the season. And other times, I think he's going to pick Ashley L because he doesn't want to pull Ashley R's daughter away from her support system in Orlando. That just leaves Alan. And my prediction about his final decision is informed by something some people might consider a spoiler. If you don't want to hear it, thank you so much for watching, and please come back next time to talk about the season finale with me. Okay, so now that it's just a spoil sports, a very impressive detective on the Farmer Wants a Wife subreddit was looking for clues about who the farmer's winners might be. Somehow, they found a website for a unit school in Santa Fe, Tennessee, where Alan lives. On the faculty page of that school's website, way at the bottom, not pictured, but listed, is a woman named Kelsey Stone. For some reason, it's been, really hard for me to find any of the contestants' last names. So, though I can't confirm that Kelsey Stone is the same Kelsey in Alan's dating pool, I think there are a few pretty strong indicators that she is. First, Kelsey's job, as listed in her lower third, is school teacher. There's also the way Kelsey spells Kelsey. It's not particularly common, but it does match the spelling of the woman's name in the school directory. Finally, there's the lack of a photo in the directory. Could it be that that teacher is still new to the school? Maybe it's someone who recently moved to Tennessee and needed a new job. We'll get our answers in the season finale, unless the rest of the contestants decide they don't want to move either and everyone quits the show. Thanks for watching. Come back next Tuesday for the final Season 1 Farmer Wants a Wife recap. And in the meantime, if you're so inclined, please like and subscribe. Thanks again. See you next time. Bye.